All right, I'll call to order the April 24th, 2023 Newcastle Select Board meeting, and we'll start with the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Do we have any amendments to the agenda? So moving on to the minutes from April 10th. A motion to accept the minutes. Moved by Tor. Do I have a second? Seconded by Karen. Any discussion? Fine. All right. All those in favor of approving the minutes from April 10th? All right. Passes 4 with 1 abstention. Moving on to public comments. For items not on the agenda, any public comments? Once, going twice. Moving on to new business. 7.1, establish date and time and location for annual town meeting. June 20th. 7 p.m. 81 Academy Hill Road, Lincoln Academy Gymnasium. So I guess that's the discussion point, right?
Mhm.
Do we want to do that?
You want to do that?
Can I just ask a question on that?
Mhm.
We've had it in the dining commons too in the past.
Yeah.
Which is, I think adequately holds sort of a regular town meeting.
I
Why are we not doing that anymore?
think there was a conflict with the time and use last year. I think that's why we did that. No,
We spread out because of the pandemic. We wanted the larger room so that we could socially distance a little bit better. We have already reserved the gymnasium for this year. We'd just have to ask Lincoln Academy if we wanted the cafeteria as opposed to the gymnasium.
I'm just asking that question. I mean, just was
Yeah.
wondering what we got kicked out of there because we were bad.
Oh, no, we just
The
wanted
food
more
site.
space.
I
Yeah,
was replacing the floor.
that's what.
Oh, right, in the dining commons? Yeah.
I mean, it feels a little more intimate in the
It's-
dining commons. It felt nice to be in there.
Yeah, no, it's pleasant. I mean, it's a pleasant space.
Is there any reason we
Can
wouldn't want to?
can we check on it?
that I just don't know if it's available or. not,
Right, right.
But I can ask.
Can we vote on this for either or? Can you tell us
Which we get.
which
Yeah,
we
why
got?
don't you just vote on it being at Lincoln Academy and I'll let you all know
Okay.
what they say.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They
okay.
probably won't let us in there because of the new floor pan. Just put
Oh.
that. But it is. We get rowdy.
Wait, was that last year they put it in? So it's
A year ago.
it's not new anymore.
I mean, come on, the kids haven't messed with it.
So I guess we need to, so it's the town meeting. June.
The election is the Tuesday before that,
Okay,
and that Monday is Juneteenth, which is why we started having it on Tuesday as
Okay.
opposed to the traditional Monday.
our annual town meeting will officially start on Tuesday, the 13th.
Mhm.
Continue for an entire week. Until we're done.
Okay.
Pretty good, right?
Yeah.
It's over 7 day long town meeting. So do I have a motion to set the annual town meeting, the open portion of the annual town meeting for June 20th at 7 p.m. at Lincoln Academy? Moved by Rob Nelson. Do I have a second?
Second that.
Sure.
Seconded by Tor. Do we have any other further discussion now that we're in the discussion portion of the? We have that all done. All right, all those in favor? All right, that's 5-0. Moving on to 7.2, approval of CMP pole permit Hopkins Hill Road.
If I'm reading all of this correctly, it just looks like they're putting another pole on the other
Yeah.
side of Route 1.
Correct.
Okay.
I don't know, maybe I did. I guess we'll see.
It's been a long time.
Yeah.
I looked it up and the last one was like 3 years ago.
Yeah, I was gonna say,
Mhm. That you all had.
what happens if we say no?
They can't,
I'm just, I
Do
mean,
it.
I'm just playing devil's
Yeah.
advocate here. We could say no, right?
yeah, it's your prerogative.
I would assume
But-
right now they've just got too long of a span between the poles. That they want to put an intermediary one.
That was-
Or is it a new service? You know?
It is a new poll.
Just a new pole between the two existing.
Oh.
poles.
Mhm.
If I had to guess, it'd probably be about clearances over here.
Yeah,
To make it.
because
higher,
it looks
but-
like
Yeah, to
it's
keep
just
it, keep
changed.
it up. It's.
Okay. Yeah, I guess that long span that would tend to sag a lot more.
I say let's approve it and build the what is it, the smarter, safer grid. The new logo, the new
No, I don't know.
smarter. Safer,
Oh, thanks to us.
smarter, safer grid.
So do we need to vote on this?
Yes.
So do I have a motion to approve the new CMP full permit on Hopkins Hill Road? Moved by Tori, do I have a second? Seconded by Tom. All those in favor? Right, that's 5-0. Moving on to 7.3, fiscal year 24 budget review. So,
Public
we
work.
picked up where we left off on- Um,
It's only an increase of 1.7% for the whole thing.
Yes.
This is just our regular
Yeah.
Section.
Yeah.
Yep.
I really don't have any.
So this is our next section.
Yep, I have a change for that one. Loan payment, Academy Hill. It looks like our amount that we're paying is now down to 226,000. It was 228 the year before. I don't expect that it will go up. And we've already paid the whole bill this year. So it's 226,63. So I think we should be able to drop that down to 126,000 or so. Ben, do you remember it? Does the interest vary? It's not a flat thing through the whole thing, like a mortgage payment, right? So the interest is dropping down every year, the interest charge.
It's a fixed rate.
It's a fixed rate.
It's a fixed rate.
Right, but in most loans, you pay the interest, the heavier interest up front, and then the interest drops off.
Except the total amount paid per month per year is static.
Okay, so if our static, so we,
So there's just no scenario, if there's no scenario where our total payments are going to go up based on the terms of the loan. So
We're down.
or down, right? So there's no reason to budget more than the amount we pay.
Correct.
I think,
I guess I would just double check that number. Make sure we've done, we don't want to under budget.
Right.
But it should be a pretty easy one to check and figure, make, you know, like. You can ask what you can.
I don't know why fiscal year 22 was a little higher, unless it was something left over from the first year when we financed the whole thing.
I think that service is a little bit of a misnomer. It's not really specific to that service. But you're giving those, you know,
Yeah.
That
It's a
payments or
Loan,
something.
loan payment.
Loan payment,
Yeah,
Mhm.
right,
yeah.
right. It's
But-
not just the,
Yeah, I would just say if we adjusted that to what the actual was, because then we know, we can put that one. Right to where it needs to be.
Which is probably gonna be 226,
As long as we don't
6307.
pay it late, we just have to make sure we pay it on time.
Maybe that's what happened in fiscal year 22. So.
Yeah.
We should make it,
that's an easy one.
It's just that gives us, that's a 20.
Give us another 15,000 or something.
That's a good question, Karen.
Yeah, I just,
Only had a good one.
well, if I keep swinging, I'm gonna hit something eventually.
Yeah, like the guy next to you.
So Sarah, you comfortable with finding out the payment?
Yes, I guess I would just say where we only have one year's actual figure, if you're looking to drop it, could we drop it to the FY 22 actual rather than the year to date? Just to be safe. Go
Yeah,
with,
right.
go with the
But
higher
shouldn't-
number.
But shouldn't we just be able to find out exactly what, if it's a,
I,
if
yeah,
it's a fixed
yes,
payment forever and ever? They should be able to tell, it's like your mortgage payment, they should be able to tell us what it is.
I mean, absolutely. I mean, we could
Right.
go to that 228, but I think, yeah, it should be, if it's a fixed payment, it's a fixed payment.
no, I understand that. I'm just asking because 228 was the actual to go with the
Well,
higher number.
That
just to be
makes,
safe,
makes
that's
sense
all.
because year to date.
saying. Yeah, no.
Well,
this
no,
year
it's just
to
two
date
payments.
is
Two
done.
payments.
It's done?
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
it's done.
It is
Paid
done.
this year.
I guess I'm just asking to play it safe.
So,
I'm just asking to do whatever it's gonna be.
I would have to find out then to put a number in.
Yeah.
So I'm just asking where we have two numbers here, go with the higher one. In the meantime, while I find out, so that I can plug in your recommendation. And send you an updated sheet, and if it comes back that it's lower, then we can talk about it next time.
Well, we're not not voting on this tonight,
No,
No.
so we have time.
so just say, just find out what the actual is and just plug it in.
Not much we can do about county.
Reserves, so we already talked about it, was it on that?
Oh, we also, everyone, else, okay, on reserves,
Oh, now we're on this screen.
brings us to
Capital.
capital roads.
Capital roads. All right. Capital roads. As presented.
So can I just say that I don't really feel comfortable making amendments to capital roads without set. We talked about this. It's a big number. We got it. We can do whatever. we want. But we only have a few choices. And I think I just I mean, we can see how the conversation. Just would
So-
prefer to see what.
So I guess the piece that I was looking at, if we were gonna cut something. Out of it, so right now we're at 1 million. Or over 1 million, we're at 1,071,240 currently. Last year we budgeted 855. The year before that, we budgeted. Well, we spent 615, so we're moving up and costs have gone up. Out of that. What we budgeted for last year. We had Academy Hill. The 122 for Academy Hill.
Mhm.
I don't know I can't remember what it specifically was we budgeted for last year, but we didn't do it because we had our,
It's exactly what's listed here, so it is.
that was it's the same number
Yep.
from last year.
So
The number is not the same because material costs and labor costs have
Right,
gone up, but
that's
the
what I'm saying.
project scope's the same, right?
Yeah, no, I understand that. I'm saying I don't know what we budgeted for last, but we didn't do. we
It's
didn't.
right there.
Oh, it is
106.
So we didn't do that. We didn't do that because of budget.
We had to pay extra
So
for
we're-
fuel.
We're paying catch up. We're playing catch up this year on that project alone. And so I would say that if there was a possible way to hold up on the River Road.
Sidewalks.
The River Road sidewalks, that would bring us. Yeah, side. That would bring us down. That would bring us down. Close to what we were last year.
So-
Budget. So that, I mean, it's a. It seems to me to be the one that if we were gonna kick one down the road, since we kicked one down the road last year. I would say that one, to my mind, would be the smarter one.
The
to
only-
do.
what I'm gonna say about that is what Seth had said is if you don't do it this year, he's gotta do a cut and then a cold patch.
You did say that it wasn't gonna increase the price that.
No,
was-
that's, you mean, no, that's not the point. It's just the fact that you end up with, for the next 7 years, you look at, this sort of cold patch. It'd just be nice to do it. And I think if, that's one of those things, I think if you're gonna do it, why not do it so it's a nice job? Are we shortchanging yourselves? The other thing I just want to say about sidewalks and roads, we have numerous pages in our comp plan that support and advocate for building sidewalks in this town, especially everything in the downtown districts, specifically from the fire station all the way down to Stewart Street, up to Lincoln Academy, down to the bridge. So that's a highlighted area in the comp plan, and numerous pages. I could give you numbers, but it's very specific. So I think if we're going to go against that, I think, I just want to throw it out there that we're not supporting the comp.
Well, I'm not saying we're not doing it. I'm just saying we hold off a year because otherwise we're up over our budget line. And if we cut another project, we're not gonna cut, doesn't make sense to, and again,
Yeah,
doesn't
no,
make sense to cut the paving on Station Road because we've already done the work and it's finishing it off. And it doesn't really make sense to not do Island Road because we've already done the whole tree clearing aspect of it. And we've opened up that wound.
Yeah.
I
I mean, you could pause that, but I'm not advocating to cut anything really. I mean, $1 million is a lot of money, but
Mhm.
I think, if the town supports these investments, I think it is what it is. I think, one question I'd have for Seth, if you were here, is how do things look next year or the next 3 years after this? I mean, we have another list of 9 items here that are sort of on hit list. So how do we engage, what does this budget look like over the next, 3 to 5 years? Are we going from $1 million this year, and wipe these clean? Are we starting, all new projects and now we're down to 350, 400,000? These are questions I have that I don't expect you to answer. I'm just saying it'd be nice to have the guy that knows
Yeah.
here.
And
I mean, I guess, because I could make an argument for any one of these items to be put off until next year. I mean, you really could. I mean, nothing here is going to, stop the town from functioning next year. So these are all capital improvements. So that's all I have to say. I think, it'd be nice to include Seth in this. I think, my position right now is without better information, I think you keep it to where it is, see where schools is, and then we react then.
anyone have any thoughts?
I mean, I'd say, I think, $1 million's a big number, and I'd really like to get it down, closer to last year. I agree with you. If I like the idea of getting that curbing in when it's neatest. So I hate losing that. But it's hard to know how else to trim this in a responsible way to get it down closer to last year's number and not mess up things operationally. So I guess, I guess that would be the question for Seth. How can we reduce this in a operationally efficient way? But I would really like, I think our budget as presented is, our municipal is 12% increase, and that this is obviously a big
Yeah.
place
Yeah,
that we can maybe take it.
Well,
Take an impact.
I'm also considering our trajectory.
Yeah.
I mean, is this $1 million down to $500,000 next year, which is a
Yeah.
significant
Right,
difference,
right.
you know?
Yeah, no, I,
I mean, so, you know, I guess that's the
That's-
question.
right.
I
And
think
it requires
think-
an intelligent answer.
Because I know
We're
we've
not
got this.
capable of giving that.
I'm not.
I know,
I'm
I
not
know,
either.
and we've got this list of sort of hit things, but then there's just continuing on with the rebuilding the road.
I guess my my point with this budget is that to stay on the trajectory, the, you know, so Academy Hill, the 122 for that
We'll have that
was
next year.
projected at 106. That shouldn't have been on this work list.
Right.
So we should be down 122, but because of the costs, because of everything getting so much more expensive, we had to cut, something had to be cut, so that's what got cut. And so it's an additional to the workload, and I'm just saying. It's again, it's either raising taxes or cutting something to, you know, or putting something off for a year, just like we had done previous. And so that's all I'm saying is that,
Academy Hill is an annual thing though. He does a section of the road every year.
Well, isn't this the last piece?
I
Because
don't
that
know.
was out, it was sort of before our
Yeah.
3-year cycle that there was.
So
a
this
bunch of
might be
stuff
the
in-
last
I
section. of it.
think that this is the last piece of Academy
it
Hill.
would have been
That's-
so nice. if
Thought he
we
had
just-
one more to do.
Oh, was there
I
one
think
more?
there's one.
Yeah,
Would
there's
have been
one
so,
more.
so
And then he
nice
was
if we had
gonna,
just,
the following year
Oh,
after
okay.
that section was going through the whole thing. I think this takes it down to the curve, to the S curve.
Oh, okay, yeah.
the
Yeah.
2 million, we were looking at Academy Hill years ago. I mean, again, you have a crystal ball and you look at it and you say, let's just spend 3 million.
Yeah.
And get it done. That would have been pretty awesome, especially with that interest rate that we have with that loan. I mean, it's just absolutely nuts.
Yeah.
But we can't go back in time.
No.
That was lucky to get that done, but I would just, like I said, I would just advocate for if it wasn't gonna really clog up the works, I think that would be the one that I would. And maybe we, you know, maybe again, we balance it, we do a little bit more of that while we're in it next year, you know what I mean? That's the,
With the granite one, granite curbs.
up on River Road, I'm saying,
And
because that's not,
half of it, or
that's
not
not
quite.
doing the whole thing. but
Right.
maybe
Right,
we
right,
do it-
right.
Maybe we
Do-
do a bigger
do the
portion
whole-
of it next year as a whole project, just to, again, just, you know,
Finish it.
balance what we're doing. And I think part of the discussion that we should be, you know, starting sooner rather than later, you know, maybe in the fall or whatever, is getting into to where we're at for our next sort of stint in capital roads. Because the idea with this was that we're hitting all these areas and you know, doing a good job fixing everything so that we can get into a maintenance schedule. So this isn't supposed to last forever.
Right.
I mean, it will, or
I mean,
portions of it will, but the idea is.
We're
is
supposed to be
that-
making
is that we're,
progress.
and again, when you look at what we were spending, it's not like our project list has necessarily, I mean, each project is individual to itself. So some years the project might be more expensive than other years. But what you're really seeing here is an inflation you're seeing the inflation of dollars, you know, what things cost to
yeah.
be done. So
Yeah, but we quantified that last time,
was it? what do you mean?
10%. When Seth was here. We quantified what the escalation was for material at 10%.
No, I'm saying over time even. I'm just saying everything goes up, you know, I mean, asphalt goes up and down.
No, it does. I mean, the 10%'s got inflation built into it because that's exactly what it is. It's inflated, you know,
Yeah,
escalation and bonus. So, yeah, I mean, I think, yeah, I mean,
so anyway, it would be my recommendation to reach out to Zach and.
Do you want me to wait and reach out to Seth and have him come in before you
but here's,
tentatively slash that number?
here's,
for your
here's an
draft
example.
budget?
If Seth said, oh, well, you could pause on Academy Hill, you could pause on curbs and sidewalks. That brings that down to, you know, somewhere around 750. Right? So we're going from 800 or 855 down to 750. So, you know, in theory, we're starting that curve already. You know what I'm saying? The 855, 750. So just in theory, I'm just wondering, again, projecting this out, what is our workload look like in the future? This is only looking at, I mean, all these projects will be done, you know, other than the Island Road, which will have to be paved next year. That'll be a carry forward number. And then everything else would be, you know, the River Road would be carried forward. You know, so I don't know what that is. Is that $350,000 we're carrying forward into next budget year? And then, you know, there's something else, or are we at really just 350 and then
Well, but I
it's a
think-
wide open?
But I think,
Right.
I mean, you know, there's the, you know, Pleasant Street retaining wall and culvert, but Pleasant Street itself is falling apart.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think there are a lot of other roads, you know, that.
Yeah,
need the
no.
Full,
I'm not saying we're done.
yeah.
I'm just saying,
It's not on the list.
you're making up a list. I mean, we have it here.
Yeah.
It'd be nice to have
The
the,
comprehensive.
it'd be nice to know what.
Like
what
a
we're talking
5-year
about.
plan or. a-
5-year plan. I mean, I feel like we've got only, I feel like we're getting to the end of our 3-year plan on some of these projects, but we're not looking forward to, you know, what's next. I mean, is it dealer's choice down here? Is it up to us to pick what we do next?
Well,
or-
Yep.
I'd asked Seth, you know, a couple of years ago, you know, like have a comprehensive inventory of all our roads and what
Right.
their status is. And he explained at the time that that's easier to do when everything's been rebuilt, but
Right.
it doesn't, where we are doesn't fit into those tools. So,
Right, and that's kind of what Seth, I think, was getting at when he was telling you all, it's time to have a philosophical discussion here about how far you want your capital improvement roads budget program to go. Because there are a few roads on this list that have sizable price tags, as we see, as we've seen just over the last year, the costs will probably just continue to go up. So a bigger discussion in the future needs to be had about how are we planning for this? What do we want to include? Is there ever a stopping point? Where does it? And maybe it just continues every year.
Yeah.
Did you have a?
Well,
you
so
had
I
to
was
say
gonna
again real quick?
throw in Glidden Street next year. Could be a big thing.
Yep.
That,
And that one's going to be
Yeah.
on the list next year. We are in the regular maintenance budget. We're hoping to hire an engineer and do
Right.
survey work for that street so that we can come up with a budget number for next year. So that you'll see that.
Oh, sorry.
let's
Oh.
just stay there.
No, it's fine.
Else is there.
I mean, I think what I'm hearing you guys say is you're not comfortable at 1 million, you're comfortable at 8 or 850. That's your mandate. Give that to Seth. And have him come up with the creative solutions. Don't try and figure it
Yeah.
out. You guys are not road engineers.
Yeah.
But if that's the level, I mean, I think that's the philosophical question he's asking you is like, what level of monetary commitment are you comfortable with on a yearly basis? If you're comfortable with 800 or 850, say, hey, you know, how would you rearrange this? What would it look like? You know, what would the projects look like?
I knew
And-
they'd
and
do
put it on
reasonable
him.
Here.
And just say, we'd like the number here for our budget. What can we get that done?
I mean, he might determine that Island Road, he can go about it a different way.
Exactly.
There might be a different build spec to that than what he's proposed in here that he would feel comfortable going. So,
He could push it instead of 2 to 3 years, it could be 2 to 4 years, or, I mean, like, we don't know, I guess is the point. So why speculate? Just ask him to
Yeah.
hit that number and keep going.
Yeah, I mean, right now, this is 33% of our municipal budget.
Yeah.
It's significant.
Yeah.
So I think, like you're saying, how do we keep this at 850 this year? And, you know, that brings it down to 26% of our budget. How do we get it down to 20% in 5 years?
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
that's the trajectory I think we need to talk about.
Well, and I think that's your discussion to have and your vision to set is like, these are the numbers we're comfortable with. What can
Yeah.
we get for that? We're committed to a robust capital roads program. We're not talking about defunding it.
Right.
Even slashing $200,000 off is more than some towns put towards their capital roads projects every year. So I'm just saying, like, take it with a grain of salt. We're doing really well. Just put it on him and say,
Yeah.
what can we get for this?
Exactly.
What number do we want to give them? Stay flat? Give it something with an inflationary factor?
I think that's right. I mean, but again, I think we need to give him that number after we talk to him.
Well, no,
No.
you
Think about
should
that
give
first.
him
Yeah.
some
No,
idea
I
of
think
how to come back with ideas is what I was suggesting.
I think
So
Yeah.
give them a range, say, if it was me, I'd say, hey, we're more comfortable between 8 and 850.
Yeah.
Can you make that work?
Yeah.
And what would that look like?
850.
And he might come back with a couple of different options for you to choose from. But without that guidance, he's kind of just stabbing in the dark.
Exactly. Fair enough. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's the recommendation.
I mean, let's say just 5 years ago, the reserve budget for roads was about 8% of municipal budget. Yeah, we're up to 33%. Yeah. That's huge.
It is huge.
Yeah.
To counterpoint that though, just so that we're all on the same page, because we need to present this to town meeting
Yes.
Right.
and tell the voters, we are doing a robust program.
Oh.
And it has value. Not only does it have the value that we're putting into it, but because we deferred maintenance for 25 years.
Yeah.
This is the cost of that. So now we're playing catch up. And just slashing the budget isn't gonna fix anything. It still needs to get done.
Right.
So we're in the cycle of getting it done. We're being responsible. It is a large number, but we're fortunate that we've budgeted appropriately. And we can do it at 8 or 850 without raising taxes.
Yeah.
Right.
No, I guess I'm thinking, I just don't want there to be a precedent that each year incrementally roads can go up. Because right now, looking at this trend, it's the trend.
It's scary.
Every year it goes up. So is the next year gonna be 40% of the municipal budget? The
Well,
year
I
after
think
that?
that's the point of we'll say, we can say
Yeah.
what that number is, and then, our
Yeah.
road commissioner can work with that number and give us options about how to get there. Yeah. I think, that's it's our call. Yeah. Where to place that level.
So-
And I think the point, we're making real progress, and we should be really happy about that. We're
Yeah.
making that progress. Getting at this stuff, but we just have to balance it.
So I'll have Seth come in the next meeting then, and I'll just say, can you help us find a way to keep the budget between 800 and 850 or so, and
Yeah.
get as much work as possible
Just in that.
that you recommend done?
And how what he would recommend for us to get to that point.
Okay.
I'd
And
like,
come up with some options.
I'd also like him, personally, I'd like him to put some thought into my question, which I'll ask. What's the 3 to 5 year project? Look like? Or at least 3 years, let's be fair.
And you all should think about that too, for sure. Right.
I guess again, a broadening of that question is, are we halfway through this process?
Yeah.
Are we 10% of the way through the process?
Yeah.
You know, just
that's
where are we?
We've got, yeah, and again, the dollars or miles. Is the
Yeah,
question, you know
well,
what I mean?
yeah, but
And-
just,
and
I mean-
those are different because the miles,
I know,
the
but
miles on Glidden Street are very different than the ones,
Yeah.
or whatever. And again, we're jumping around a little bit. Again, but there was a discussion, we had a thought that we might be having to shuffle things around because of what the water district was gonna be
Right.
doing, over on Pump, but that they deferred, so, but that's gonna be coming. So.
But I don't know, but whether it's miles or dollars, are we halfway through this? I have no real sense.
Still early.
Yeah, I think so.
It's
it's
a short answer that we all know
Is
is that
it's
there
never
is no amount of money that is enough
Right.
that will ever fix all the roads.
I'm sure we could
It
spend
will
$1 billion.
always cost money.
We could spend $1 billion on Newcastle roads and have roads to fix.
Or we could spend $1 million every year and we
Yeah,
still have roads.
yeah,
We would
right,
never catch it.
right.
So, I mean,
Maybe. Maybe.
it doesn't matter. Do what you can with the budget.
Yeah, I mean, even, I don't know what's gonna happen next year, it's anybody's crystal ball, but I mean, even if we go with 850 say this year and we escalate that 10%, We're at 950 next year, so we're back to $1 million. I mean, it's, you know, I mean, we have to do what we have to do.
But
Yeah.
there's a big difference between, just on Station Road, big difference between 620 and 154. And 154 is just kind of what most what we have been kind of doing on
Yeah.
Right.
as a road repair, which is
Yeah.
just
Cir-
putting some
little
pavement
surface.
on it and calling it a day. So again, the idea is that $600,000 investment is something that's gonna work and give us value for years to come and potentially limit lengthen out that 154 on every road that we've done. And again, it's like, I'm excited to see the crack ceiling line number go higher and higher, because that means we're getting more into maintaining these roads that we've rebuilt, and that's again the part that, there's gonna be an ebb and a flow to some of this stuff, but when that number is higher, that means that we're really just maintaining all that stuff and trying to get as much as we can out of the surface.
So just to give you a little anecdote, but I don't drive Lynch Road very often. And that road was rebuilt before we began our capital roads program. But every time I drive it, I call Seth
Oh, geez.
and I say, good job. Because you can tell that the cracked ceiling approach to maintaining a road that was fully rebuilt is paying off. It is working.
Yeah.
The road looks gorgeous.
So that was done before I was on the board.
Mhm.
Well, it's been around a little while.
A while then,
It's look-
yeah.
Looks
Been
good
like,
still.
I mean,
So if you want evidence
Yeah.
that the path we're on is what is leading to, drive that road, you'll see. It's fantastic.
I think here's another, this point, I'll just shut up after this, but the way I see it is, we have two dials here. You have expenses and you have income. Right? That's the only two dials everybody has. So either you lower the expenses and you keep on driving that down and forget about income, or you try to build up income. And the only way we can build up income is tax base. And so we've taken steps to build up tax base. That's something, to balance this out. Should roads, to do what we need to do to have nice roads in this town, who wants crappy roads? Maybe we have to be at 25% of municipal budget for the next 10 years to
We
have
got a
good
lot of
roads,
roads.
So,
That's the great philosophical question.
Right.
What percentage or what number is appropriate? And we have strong evidence that $100,000 or $200,000 a year
was
is
irresponsible.
absolutely not and completely irresponsible. That's right. Yes.
Not the number, but the percentage of our municipal budget.
Right.
That's really what we.
Yes. Yeah.
I'll shut up.
So revenue,
Comments, questions?
all right, I'm gonna advocate again for being a little more accurate on revenue. That'll lower our overall percentages.
What do we have for that?
Well, we can start right out with the interest on the checking. Sarah, what'd you say we are so far this year?
Year to date, we're at 19,409
Oh.
as of first week in April.
Right, that's for the whole fiscal year though so far.
Yep.
All right, which will put us up at somewhere just under 26,000 for the whole year if it keeps at that rate. Interest rates probably are not going to tank down to 1% again in the next 12 months. So if we want to find ourselves an extra few $1,000s, we could make that a little more realistic. It's only for 1 year, so we're not making a forecast for the next 10 years. It's only 1 year.
22.
I will just say, when you look at revenues, there's a lot of fluctuation. You're also in year 2 of a 3-year banking agreement in which the interest rate may change.
Right, it's been going up though.
Then
So we're not getting a better interest rate than we were.
your
a year
interest
ago?
rate went down when you swapped banks.
But after that change, it's driving
It's
by
the
market rates.
When
Yeah,
did we swap
so-
banks?
We did a banking RFP when I first started. It was like 2 months in. when I
So we've
first
been on it for
started.
this whole year.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So this interest that we're getting now is reflective of what we're getting and
Yep.
what we should get.
Yes,
Right. So that shouldn't fluctuate a whole lot.
it depends on how much money we have sitting in the bank account, right?
Yep.
So as you'll see with revenues, there's a lot of fluctuation and it's why we tend to be slightly more generous.
No, I get it, but our other option is to go back and cut somewhere elsewhere. It's easier to be a little bit more accurate on these. Because this is why we keep getting so much money in the fund balance is because these are all low. So, I mean, just take the big one here. Motor vehicle excise tax. We average $429,000 plus every year. It was only down in fiscal year 20 because the office was closed, made up for it the next year. So I'm like, if we want to be real conservative, to me, we should be at like 410 for that estimate, since the average is almost 430. 410, the only year that is going to be 17, way long ago, or 20 when we were closed because of COVID. So we can gain ourselves $30,000 if we put that up to 410, which is still conservative.
I think that seems reasonable, I think, because that helps us get our, and helps our bottom line.
Yep.
That doesn't seem risky.
So what was the write-in? 400?
410.
410.
420.
410.
Ah, let's see if we can find it maybe elsewhere. I still think we could go on the interest in checking up a little bit, but Sarah's uncomfortable with that, so we can look elsewhere first. I mean, this is not a big increase, but the permit fees in line 2, or that's 5,000 is way lower than we've been getting permit fees. And we're already we'll be double that by the end of this year.
It's hard to predict.
I know everything, but this is what we're trying to do. We're trying to be accurate in an unpredictable kind of
But
world
look
here.
at how much fluctuation there is. you
But
know?
how many times has it been below $6,000?
I would say if you're trying to find a fair number, take a 5-year average if you want to get tighter in on that. But then you're hedging a bet that 5-year average is going to be accurate
Yep.
when there's a lot of fluctuation.
You're super conservative, aren't you?
Well, with revenue budgets, yeah. I think you kind of have to be.
And where we are in the year though. Like again, I think that the mooring and dinghy fees is low, unrealistically low. I think you could go up on our cable franchise fees a little bit.
I would not recommend that because we don't have a new signed contract yet.
And the way it's been going, we won't in the next 12 months, will we?
I don't know.
So,
That's a legal matter. We can talk.
great, so. What's that?
I think those were the big ones we were looking at.
Which?
Well, I guess, it seems like certainly between our
Let's shoot.
bank interest and our permit fees, $1,000 is safe to assume we're gonna get, you know, I mean, 500 in each or something. I mean, that seems like, that.
Yeah.
Seems like a safe thing to do. I think we could probably do 1,000 in each, but I think
Yeah.
500 in each just to get another 1,000.
You're talking about line 2 and 3?
Yeah, or 1 and 2.
Oh, okay.
Get this closer.
19.5 for the first. And
20,500.
oh, sorry.
$1,000, $1,000.
Yeah.
It all helps.
So permit fees, you were proposing upping that from
55.
55. Oh, okay. It's 9,000 year to date.
Well,
I know.
get that, I mean,
That's-
it feels like
that's-
it's,
Busy.
It's been a busy year.
Stuff.
I mean, as you were saying, we've done a whole new code to encourage our tax base to increase, and so I would like to think this number's not gonna fall off to nothing. 'Cause
You
we
mean the,
continue the permit fees, people are gonna
Yeah.
continue to want to do things. 'cause
oh,
we're
yeah.
innovating.
I'm thinking we could go up 1,000 at least.
I mean, yeah, I think we can.
The really interesting thing, if I may.
Yeah.
Is that we've had the new code in place for a year and a half. Well, sort of for this, and the new permit fee in place for at least a year. That's the permit fee
Yeah.
schedule in place for at least a year. And the new permit fee schedule is way less
It
than
is.
our old permit fee schedule was.
True.
And if you look at the numbers received, so in 17, 18, 19, and 20, that reflected permit fees based on our old
Right.
schedule. So
Exactly.
not only are we doing well, but yes, fees are a lot less. There's a lot more happening.
There's a lot
Yeah.
more happening.
Right.
And we may say we know a lot more about what's
Yes.
happening too.
It's also very interesting that a lot of it is shifted to the CEO. It's processed administratively. Which is kind of fabulous. Things are not getting bogged down in planning. It's
Mhm.
great.
Still working.
Way it was designed. I know, it's actually working. Some things are actually working.
Well, do we want to make that 6 instead of 55? Is that your anting up?
I voted for 6.
Yeah, okay. I'll agree with that one.
I know one of my
Too.
projects is good for at least $250 of that.
Um, 1,500 there. Okay, that's good.
We're fighting the $250,000 from the fund balance.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Big number to
yeah.
fight against here.
It's the fight against.
Yep.
So Sarah, when do we get a good number on the revenue sharing? Because your note says you budgeted 71,000 under.
Yep.
What-
That is the number that's projected that the state has issued as an official projection for state revenue sharing.
Mhm.
However, we've always under budgeted their projection because it can be contingent on politics, whether we receive the entirety or not. There have been years where the projection was well under what they told us.
Where we got well under.
The last 2 years, we've been really fortunate. But there were other years that we didn't receive by the state. So we tend to be pretty conservative with that.
That is how we've gotten fund balance to the unsustainable place that it is too. Um, 370. So that's
What
What percentage-
what
what-
percentage is conservative and what
Right.
percentage is, yeah, that's a good question.
there's 370.
Just curious how, like, do we get it monthly or
We get it in,
quarterly?
I believe it's 2 different payments, I believe. It's either quarterly or 2 different payments. I can't remember off the top.
Because just looking at the year to date, we've received 17,000 more than we budgeted.
That's because we did the same thing that. I'm
Right,
proposing.
so I'm
Right.
wondering, are we gonna get a little bit more, or is that it for the year?
I'd have to pull, I'd have to pull the.
Or
the numbers.
300 is 80% of 370. That's worth.
What was it?
It's 80%. With our budget is 80% of our expected.
Yeah. I mean, that has been the wild card that we. And I don't. It's, yeah, an interesting thing.
And do you have any historical anecdotes here?
Prior to the previous administration's
Yeah.
sort of chaotic approach to revenue sharing. The general rule of thumb was always within 10%. Because it was pretty stable. It was it wasn't a contentious issue. Sarah's not wrong though. It could go anywhere, honestly.
Yeah.
It's kind of crazy. We have been very fortunate the last couple of years.
Mhm.
And Joel, you're not wrong. During almost the entirety of the previous administration's tenure, we had that number set at 0. Because from year to year, we never knew.
Yeah.
We just never knew. And we felt like we couldn't count on it.
Yeah.
But prior to that, it was very, very stable.
Yeah.
It was,
Yep.
it was not a thing, so
Mhm.
10% was reasonable back then.
We've got the current administration for the next fiscal year. For the, well, at least leadership.
And indications show that the
Yeah.
commitment to it is strong, so, take that as you will, but. Right.
What would it be, if we're coming up on an election this fall, I'd feel less comfortable with feeling that was reliable, but we don't have an election this fall for government, so.
Split the difference, call it
Yeah.
15%. That's still generous.
That would be 314 or 350. 15% discount from.
Well, if we split the difference between the 300 and 370, would be at 335.
Interesting to see the trend on that one.
Yeah, we're getting a lot more this year. Well, it was up to 22 was closer, but
We were not being reimbursed at the rate that we were legally supposed to be reimbursed up until last year.
Well, technically, we're still not.
Right.
because The law is 55%. Not gonna,
We're
we're not 55%.
I thought we were up to 5% this last year. They finally restored it. to 5. And then same with education. It was finally put up to where it was supposed to.
Well, if that were accurate, then that number would be. What? At least 1.5 million.
It's close
Yeah.
to what we are. It's close to what when the,
What we
Good.
received last year?
no. We haven't finished receiving for last year. We know that. No, what we're projecting to receive this year would be 909,670 plus 370,926. That would be pretty
Oh,
close.
but we're just talking about just education.
Yeah.
Not all the state.
Oh, I see what you're saying.
The state law is that the education subsidy in particular is supposed to be 55%. It's never come in
Well, they actually are funding.
55%. See, that's something I would believe when I see it.
They are. I mean,
They
the
actually-
problem for us is that, the formula by which that is spent
Calculated.
is calculated largely based on property tax values. Which
Yeah.
means coastal communities have high property tax values. And it doesn't, like, median income doesn't come into the formula. Anyway,
So are we gonna
so,
bump that one to 335?
well, three,
Difference?
yeah, well, that would be about 10%. So if we want to be, I get that in the old days, we could count on 10%. Maybe we want to say 325 and that's 13% discount. Just a little bit more than 10% discount, just to be a little, political risk. Maybe. Or like what we do. $330 to be 11%.
Just three, 30, about 10%.
Yeah.
Yeah.
330 be, no.
Oh, yeah, be 10%.
Would be
So
11.
Just looking at it, yeah. Well, that would be a 10% increase over the budget
Oh,
amount.
right, but I'm saying what discount it is from
Ah,
our
would be
projection.
70.
If the old conservative days, 10% was a reasonable number, then maybe we want to be slightly more than that.
15.
Or I was gonna say, I was like 13, if I did 325, that was 13%.
Okay.
This is the 25 at least.
What did you say, Rob? 315?
325.
Instead of 300. All right.
Green goes up a little bit.
Was there something wrong with fiscal year 21 with the mooring and dinghy fees? Does anybody know? It was super low that year,
That was
and it's an even number, which is a little weird too.
pandemic.
21?
Exactly $1,500.
No.
Yeah, why would we-
See, it was around $3,000 leading up to that, and it was 4,000, it was 5 last year.
I'd have to look that up to answer that question.
I
don't
didn't think
have
you
my-
would know, right? No, you weren't here. Just didn't know if anybody knew what happened then. I would have expected it to be much higher.
I don't know.
Right. Any other
Anything else you wanna tweak?
changes?
Nope. That's good.
All right. I'll put all these in. We'll have Seth come next time. Maybe hopefully we have school numbers, and then other than that, it seems like we're done with budget.
We should have school numbers, because I think the GSB board did vote on a budget. Obviously, it hasn't been approved by voters, but, I assume the school committee, the
We had
Newcastle
that.
School Committee should have met to do the secondary. So,
That was in the paper, the
Right,
GSB was in the paper
Right.
last week.
yeah, so the school committee should have secondary as well.
Great.
So May 8th is our next meeting?
Yep.
And we'll go over all the warrant articles at that point.
Yep.
Great,
At
Sounds
7.
good.
cool. All right. Moving on to the town manager report.
We did receive papers back for all 3 open seats between select board and school board. Candidates include Tor running again and Rufus Percy for select board, who's a new person. And Elizabeth Ball for school board. So that's great. It means we won't have any write-ins. There's no state ballot for the election this time, just municipal ballot. So right now, it appears that'll be the only thing on Historic Preservation Committee, as I just keep ringing that bell in case we get questions. All scheduled meetings for the committee will be posted on the town website calendar, and minutes can be found under the town planning section of the website. So, as we said before earlier in the meeting, the municipal election will be held Tuesday, June 13th in the community room of the fire station. And town meetings taking place at 7 p.m. in the Lincoln Academy gym. Or
Or-
Lincoln Academy cafeteria. I'll let you
Or-
let you know.
Yeah.
Okay. And we'll post that on the website. Absentee ballots will be available Friday, May 12th, final day to request the ballots, June 8th, and voters will have until 8 p.m. on election day to return the ballot. You'll see an invoice this time in the warrant for the new garage bay at the Sheepsket Fire Station, which was installed. It changed the days 2 to 1. As we discussed several months ago. So, and then last but not least, I need to add to this report that I sent out to all of you. Staff's requesting that we change our June 12th select board meeting to June 5th alternatively, so that staff has this room in order to set up for the election the night before the election, so they don't need to come in at 5 morning, if you all wouldn't mind.
Changing which to which? You said-
June 12th
12th.
select board meeting to June 5th. Instead.
Yep, I think it's probably a better.
Yeah, we'll have a lot going on. Hey,
All right. Great. Moving on to 9.1, we have a town warrant for $222,872.92. Do I have a motion to accept? Moved by Tom, seconded by Rob. Discussion.
Looks good.
You get something.
Yeah, I just,
Find it.
With the agenda.
Oh, okay.
I have a little bit of, I guess, a question on card member services. Looks like we've purchased an OtterBox life-proof phone case. I'm a little uncomfortable using taxpayer money to pay for accessories for personal cell phones. So just bringing that up.
it was requested because it's a cell phone, even though it is, they do pay for it personally. They requested it because it's required for their work. But here, but if you all,
Which phone was that on?
Fire department. I mean, all jobs require a phone nowadays, so I'm not sure if that's a precedent we want to set, paying for things for people's personal devices. I don't know, maybe it's just
That's
me,
good. I mean, that's a good point. I mean, we should, we should be consistent. And
because that could apply to a bunch of people
Oh.
then.
sure, I mean,
We don't do that for everybody else.
I'm gonna say if the understanding and expectation was that it was fine, then we should approve it, but I think it's good to note that, yeah, maybe it's not the precedent we want to set.
right.
So,
So it's not something we would want to see going forward,
correct.
personal things like that.
Yep.
Okay, make
Absolutely
an
right.
exception this time then.
Any other discussion? All those in favor? All right, passes 5-0. Do I have a motion to go into executive session under 1 MRSA section 4056A personnel?
Sure.
Moved by Karen, seconded by Rob. All those in favor? All right, passes 5-0.